Going into Black Ops 6 Zombies, I'm actually really excited for its story, which is something I really haven't said about the Dark Aether storyline so far. But can you really blame me? I mean, it just started with Cold War, so it was hard to get excited for it then, and then everything since then was just spin-offs, so you know. But now going into Black Ops 6, the story has been set, the hard work is done. Now they've set up ideas and questions that we just explore and have fun with, and that gets me super excited. And I believe by the end of this video, you guys will also feel the same way. So you might as well thank me in advance. Drop a like, subscribe, bell, share, or any of that great stuff. With that said, let's talk about this story. Now, to be clear from the start, this isn't like an explained video. This is just me talking about the questions and ideas that they set up in Cold War and also leading up into BO6 that I think are really exciting. And where better to start off than with Richtofen himself, more specifically Project Janus. Because this is something that has been very mysterious. I mean, we've known that he's had the backing of both the CIA and even private businesses, and we also know that all of Cold War was a setup for Project Janus. He needed to tie up loose ends. Of course, he did that with Requiem, and that's why they're in prison. He needs Samantha to get her powers back, but then get trapped in the Dark Aether again. That happened then in Cold War. And also, he needed the power of the Forsaken. That's what he captured inside that spherical thing. So everything was ready to go. That's why we see Liberty Falls. That's where Project Janus was supposed to be. But as we've seen through both intros, it doesn't seem like anything's going right for Richtofen right now. We'll get back to that in a little bit, but the question still stands. What is the goal of Project Janus? We still don't know. Like, that's something that's still a question mark. But I've always had a hunch that it might have something to do with, like, he tells his backers, like, it's for one thing, but secretly it's for another thing. And for a while, I theorized it had something to do with his kid. And as everyone's seen the intro cutscene now, it seems like Richtofen thinks his kid and wife died in a fire. But for the people in the know, we've known about that since Cold War, but something that people might not know if they were in the know is that who actually lit that house on fire that makes it seem like they killed Richtofen's family? Well, it was actually Weaver. Yep, Weaver, guys, the guy that we're going to be playing as. He killed Richtofen's family. Yep, great guy to play as if you ask me. But no, the thing is that he's the one responsible for that. Now, to be fair to him, he didn't know that the family was in there, but how much of an excuse is that really? But something we also learned from Cold War is that it seems like Richtofen's kid isn't dead. And in fact, he's actually in the Dark Aether, and he's being protected by Mr. Peaks. And that sets up a trillion questions on its own. Mr. Peaks, how are you keeping a kid safe in the Dark Aether? Isn't this supposed to be a really deadly place? How powerful are you really? I thought you were just a mystery box bunny. But then there's Richtofen's kid himself. I mean, we know time goes faster in the Dark Aether, and also the Dark Aether corrupts. So is Richtofen's kid already an adult now with some sort of Dark Aether powers? Like, what's going on with him? And that's what I thought Richtofen also knew. But from what we've seen in the intro cutscene, it seems like he thinks his kid is dead. So if he thinks his kid's dead, then what's his goal with Project Janus? It's still a major question. But kind of keeping on that Project Janus, as we can see, nothing's going right. I mean, what did we say the major things that he needed to happen? He needs Samantha trapped in the Dark Aether and the Forsaken's powers, and also Requiem tied up. None of those things are right. I mean, just look at Samantha. She is somehow taking control over that spherical thing that has the Forsaken's power, and she's just ruining everything. In fact, she just puffed Richtofen away, by the way. Like, where did he go? Like, nobody's really questioning that I've seen. Like, where is he? Is he in the Dark Aether dead? Or what just happened to Richtofen? Like, we need more people questioning that. But another major question is with Samantha. How does she have control over that? Was Richtofen fooled when he thought he was just capturing the power of the Forsaken, also captured Samantha, and now she's trapped in there too? I mean, that could happen, but also could be that she is in the Dark Aether, but somehow is remotely controlling this device from the Dark Aether too. I kind of lean towards that one, but we'll have to wait and see. But speaking of Samantha, there's one thing that I've been actually questioning for a while. I made a whole video on that I highly recommend you guys check out. That is another question, is that what about Samantha's memories? Because keep in mind, there's only always been one Samantha. Since all the way back in Black Ops till now, there's always been one Samantha, but she doesn't actually remember the old timeline. So my question is when is she going to remember? I mean, just thinking about that gives me goosebumps. When she finally remembers the old timeline, remembers everything, like, that's going to be such a moment. But then again, we're going to digress back to Project Janus, because there's one last thing that's not going right for Richtofen. It's that loose ends part, right? Because the loose ends are supposed to be Requiem, and initially they were tied up, right? They were thrown in prison, being tortured. But now, as we've seen through the Terminus intro, they're breaking out of prison. Richtofen can't catch a break. And Requiem, what is their whole purpose? Because from the intro, it seems like their whole purpose, along with Dr. Peck, is just to get revenge on Richtofen. But the thing is that I wonder if it's going to stay that, because initially that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought the whole story of Black Ops 6 was going to be a bit boring. It's just going to be a revenge tour for Requiem. But now that what we've seen in Liberty Falls, it makes me question, especially with Weaver, because what happens when Weaver realizes the family that he thinks he killed is actually Richtofen's family? Is he still going to want that revenge? Or is he going to realize that, yeah, maybe I did deserve that a little? Like, what if that happens and all of a sudden we're fighting against Samantha and Samantha's somehow evil now? Like, that would be crazy too. But kind of sticky on the Weaver, there's actually something that I made a whole video on again, another video I highly recommend you guys check out, is that it seems like Weaver has this secret knowledge that I have no idea where he's getting it from. And we see this on his prison walls in the intro. We see these Cthulhu symbols on the walls, which makes a little sense because it seems like they're going to have some Cthulhu monsters inside of Terminus, but also there's these things relating to an order that potentially could tie into the Chaos story again, which we're not jumping down that rabbit hole right now, but you know, it's still something to keep an eye on. He also knows about the Archon. He scratched that onto his wall. If you guys don't know what the Archon is, it was introduced in Vanguard Zombies, and it's this all-powerful ancient thing that's been in the Dark Aether forever, and it could grant you unlimited power if it finds you worthy. And the question is just like, how does Weaver know any of this? Where's he getting this information from? So many questions to ask, so much time to explore it with Black Ops 6. Now, keeping on Vanguard Zombies for a bit, in that game they introduced these characters called Dark Aether entities. Mainly they were friendly, we had 4 of them tied to our field upgrades, but then there's also Quarterfex, the real big evil one, right? And the thing is that these Dark Aether entities could very well return, because you have to understand, they were the rulers of the Dark Aether before the Forsaken showed up. But then the Forsaken showed up and consumed a lot of them and their powers, and he started to rule it, and the rest of the Dark Aether entities rather were killed by him in hiding or served him. But now that the Forsaken is gone, these Dark Aether entities could step up again. And based on this piece of intel that we got from Forsaken, it seems like that's exactly what's going to happen. It's talking about these old ones will rise again. Sparagmos is the one who wrote this, supposedly another Dark Aether entity. So if that happens, I mean, that's another factor to take in entirely, that we now have Dark Aether entities to deal with again. But then again, if Samantha's trapped in the Dark Aether, you know, she just might kill them all too herself, but I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But that's not it. We also have other questions about the Requiem crew. There's a new character called Maya, and her goal, as we found out, is that she's looking for her brother that's also trapped on this Terminus island. Now, I have a hunch that he's going to be turned into some Cthulhu monster, but that's just a hunch. But regardless, the thing is that a lot of people are just writing her off as just looking for her brother, but the thing is, I'm pretty sure she's going to have a bigger role here, because why would anybody be on Richtofen's prison if they didn't have some sort of major role? Why is her brother tied up in all of this Richtofen stuff? Potentially, this could mean that her and her brother have more secrets and ties to Richtofen and the overall story than what we're currently being led on to believe. And that's everything I can think of. And there's some other smaller things I'm leaving out of this video, but these are all the crazy ideas that they have set up for this game. And now I think you guys can understand why it's so exciting that now we're going into this Black Ops 6 zombie storyline with so many questions and ideas that they get explored throughout this season. But regardless though, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. What is the thing that you're most excited for with this Dark Aether story? Leave all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Regardless though, that's gonna wrap it up for me, and I'll catch you guys next stream, video, whatever it may be, and laters guys.